become increasingly concerned about the threat that militants in Syria pose upon their return to European nations. According to reports, some EU intelligence agencies have even held secret meetings with Syrian government officials about their concerns. According to these reports, the talks involve British, French, German and Spanish spy agencies. Last month, the Daily Telegraph reported that more than 300 British citizens are believed to be fighting alongside insurgents in Syria. The International Centre for the Study of Radicalization has estimated that nearly 2,000 militants from Western Europe are involved in the conflict. Mr. Chris Bambury is a political commentator with us now on the line from London. Mr. Bambury, we earlier heard today the Iranian foreign minister saying that there is a growing international consensus that extremism or terrorism has become the main problem now in Syria. Do you think this concern voiced by the EU is actually becoming very dangerous indeed, and that something has to be done in terms of stopping support for the insurgency war in Syria?
Well, just in the last 48 hours, 2 people have been arrested in Birmingham in England, accused of plotting terrorist attacks who have been in Syria, and 1 other person arrested at Birmingham airport coming back from Syria, again accused of terrorism. So this is now becoming an issue in Britain, where, as you mentioned in your piece, it's reckoned some 300 people are fighting with the Syrian opposition, some 300 jihadis. The figure in France is even higher, 400. And there is growing alarm over what will happen when these people come back. I think not just simply when they come back that they might be involved in terrorist activities against the British-French state, but I think there's also alarm that when they come back they might continue the kind of sectarian attacks they've been involved in Syria, on Shia, on Alawites, etc. We've already seen at least 1 instance of sectarian violence in London, for instance. So I think there is growing alarm over this. And the reports that European intelligence agencies have actually been talking to the Syrians are going around quite commonly now inside Europe. So clearly there is alarm. And I think this reflects a change in the situation. I think there is now a growing awareness among the people of Europe about what is going on in Syria, that there have been attacks. They were particularly highlighted over attacks on Christians. I mean, and clearly there's a slight agenda there, highlighting the anti-Christian violence in Syria, because it's obviously more than that. But it has brought to attention what is going on. And I think people are beginning to realise that the sectarian violence we're seeing in Syria carried out by these jihadis is also linked into the sectarian violence we're witnessing in Iraq, which is truly horrific. And therefore there is a kind of questioning now of what is happening in Syria. And people are alarmed by that. People also have to add are also worried by what's happening in Libya, another case of Western intervention which has gone badly, where things are going bad. So clearly there's that. At the same time, European governments are also not allowing refugees in from Syria. The British government has a very, very bad reputation. So things are going from bad to worse here, and I think people are questioning what on earth is going on in Syria. And the numbers of foreign fighters, the reports, for instance, of Chechen fighters taking a leading role among al-Qaeda-linked groups in control of swathes of Syria, they are raising alarm. Stories of beheading are now quite common. So yes, I think there is an alarm both in official circles, but I think also there's a popular awareness that these jihadi groups are spreading their influence in both Syria and Iraq, and that poses down the road potential danger as these fighters come back to Europe from Syria.